Pope Francis, the name echoed across the globe, a symbol of hope, humility, and unwavering compassion. His papacy, though not without its trials, marked a significant shift in the Catholic Church. He touched hearts, challenged conventions, and left an indelible mark on the world stage. He will be remembered for his warmth, his empathy, and his unwavering commitment to the poor and marginalized. His legacy is one of openness, dialogue, and a profound love for humanity.
Subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia. Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in 1936, his story began in the bustling city of Buenos Aires, Argentina. The son of Italian immigrants, he lived a simple life, learning the values of hard work and family. His beloved grandmother, Rosa, a devout Catholic, played a pivotal role in shaping his faith and social conscience. He witnessed firsthand the struggles of the poor and the marginalized, instilling in him a deep sense of social justice.
On March 13, 2013, the world's attention was riveted on the Vatican. For hours, millions waited in anticipation, eyes glued to television screens and smartphones as the conclave of cardinals deliberated behind the closed doors of the Sistine Chapel. Then at last, a plume of white smoke rose from the ancient chimney, signaling to the world that a decision had been made. The centuries-old ritual, steeped in tradition and mystery, had once again delivered a moment of global significance. In St. Peter's Square, a sea of people erupted in cheers, their faces illuminated by the glow of camera flashes and the hope of a new beginning. The announcement soon followed. Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio of Buenos Aires, Argentina, had been elected as the new leader of the Catholic Church. For many, his name was unfamiliar, but within moments, the world began to learn about the humble cardinal from South America. Bergoglio, known for his simple lifestyle and deep compassion for the poor, had spent decades serving the people of Argentina, often riding public transportation and living in a modest apartment rather than the opulent bishop's residence. His reputation for humility and social justice quickly captured the imagination of Catholics and non-Catholics alike. News of his election spread like wildfire, dominating headlines and sparking conversations in every corner of the globe. In cities from Manila to Mexico City, from Nairobi to New York, people gathered in churches, homes, and public squares to celebrate and reflect on what this moment meant for the future of the Church. The sense of surprise was palpable. Never before had a pope been chosen from outside Europe in modern times, and certainly never from Latin America. The world watched as history unfolded before their eyes. For the first time, the papacy had crossed the Atlantic, reaching into the heart of the Americas. Latin American Catholics, who make up a significant portion of the world's Catholic population, felt a surge of pride and connection. In Argentina, crowds poured into the streets, waving flags and singing hymns, celebrating one of their own ascending to the highest office in the Church. It was a moment of joy and validation for millions who had long felt distant from the Vatican's European center. But the significance of this election went far beyond geography. For the first time, the Church had chosen a leader from the developing world, a region where Catholicism is vibrant, growing, and deeply woven into the fabric of daily life. In places like Africa, Asia, and Latin America, faith communities rejoiced, seeing in Pope Francis a reflection of their own struggles, hopes, and dreams. His election was a powerful acknowledgement of the global South's importance to the future of Catholicism. Adding to the sense of change, Bergoglio was also the first Jesuit ever to become pope. The Jesuit order, known for its commitment to education, intellectual rigor, and service to the marginalized, brought a new perspective to the papacy. Many wondered how his Jesuit background would shape his leadership and what new directions he might chart for the Church in the years to come. As Pope Francis stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica for the first time, he greeted the world with a gentle wave and a simple, heartfelt message. His election was more than a change of leadership. It was a signal that the Church was ready to embrace a new era, one marked by humility, inclusivity, and a renewed focus on serving the poor and marginalized. For many, it felt like a breath of fresh air, a departure from centuries of tradition, and a promise of hope and transformation.
Honestly, his election meant so much to people like me. For the first time, I felt truly seen by the Church. It was as if the Vatican was finally recognizing the faith, struggles, and contributions of Catholics from every corner of the world, not just Europe. I remember watching the announcement with my family, and we all felt a sense of pride and hope that things could really change for the better. It was, a sign that the Church was ready to listen to voices from all over the world. For so long, many of us felt like outsiders. But with Pope Francis, it felt like the doors were opening wider, inviting everyone in. His election was a turning point, a moment that inspired millions to believe that the Church could truly become a home for all, regardless of where they came from or what language they spoke.
Subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia. From the moment he became Pope, Francis made it clear that he would not follow the traditional path of grandeur and privilege. He shunned luxurious trappings, opting for a simple lifestyle that reflected his deep commitment to humility and solidarity with those on the margins of society. Rather than surrounding himself with opulence, he chose to walk among the people, wearing simple white robes and living in modest settings. This was not just a symbolic gesture, but a powerful statement about the kind of church he envisioned, one that is open, accessible, and close to the everyday struggles of ordinary people. Francis emphasized humility and service in every aspect of his papacy. He visited impoverished neighborhoods, served food to the hungry, and comforted the needy with genuine compassion. His actions spoke volumes, reflecting his genuine concern for the poor and marginalized. He often reminded the world that the Church must be a field hospital, tending to the wounds of humanity and reaching out to those who are forgotten or ignored by society. Through his words and deeds, he inspired millions to look beyond themselves and to serve others selflessly. Pope Francis made it a priority to be present with those who suffer. He embraced the sick, the poor, and the marginalized, not as an act of charity, but as a recognition of their inherent dignity. He visited slums and areas devastated by poverty, bringing hope and comfort to those who felt abandoned. His willingness to meet with marginalized groups, whether refugees, prisoners, or people living with disabilities, demonstrated his belief that every person deserves respect and love, regardless of their circumstances. In powerful acts of humility, Francis washed the feet of refugees and prisoners, shared simple meals with the poor, and offered words of comfort and hope to those in despair. These gestures were more than symbolic. They were a call to action for the entire Church to follow Christ's example of service and compassion. By reaching out to those on the margins, he challenged others to break down barriers and build a more inclusive and loving community. From the very beginning, Pope Francis broke with papal protocol, choosing to engage directly and informally with people from all walks of life. He greeted crowds in St. Peter's Square with warmth and openness, often stepping away from security to bless children or speak with the elderly. His willingness to break with tradition during ceremonies signaled a new era for the papacy, one rooted in authenticity, humility, and a deep desire to connect with the faithful on a personal level. Perhaps one of the most striking examples of his commitment to simplicity was his decision to live in the Domus Sancta Marta guest house, rather than the opulent papal apartments. This choice reflected his desire to remain close to the people and to avoid the trappings of power. By living simply, Pope Francis sent a clear message. True leadership is found not in wealth or status, but in service, humility, and a willingness to embrace those on the margins.
Pope Francis embarked on a path of reform, addressing long-standing issues within the Church. He advocated for synodality, a more inclusive approach to decision-making, giving a voice to the laity and fostering greater dialogue within the Church. He established the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors, demonstrating his commitment to tackling the issue of clerical sexual abuse. His landmark encyclical, Laudato Si, addressed the urgent need for environmental protection, calling for global action on climate change.
Pope Francis was truly a voice for the voiceless. From the very beginning of his papacy, he made it clear that his mission was to stand alongside those who are often ignored or forgotten by society. He didn't just speak about the poor and marginalized from afar. He went out to meet them, to listen to their stories, and to share in their struggles. His actions spoke as loudly as his words, showing a deep commitment to uplifting those who have been left behind. As a staunch advocate for social justice, he used his platform to speak out against injustice and inequality wherever he saw it. Whether it was addressing economic disparity, racial discrimination, or the exploitation of workers, Pope Francis never shied away from difficult conversations. He challenged world leaders to rethink policies that perpetuate poverty and exclusion, urging them to create systems that serve everyone, not just the privileged few. His speeches often called for a radical shift in how we view our responsibilities to one another, emphasizing that true progress can only be achieved when the most vulnerable are protected and empowered.
Yeah, and he really called for greater compassion and understanding towards migrants and refugees. He reminded us that behind every statistic are real people, families, children and individuals who have been forced to leave everything behind in search of safety and hope. Pope Francis consistently highlighted the dignity and humanity of migrants, urging us to see them not as burdens, but as brothers and sisters deserving of respect and support. He visited refugee camps, comforted those who had lost everything, and encouraged communities to welcome newcomers with open arms. He urged nations to open their hearts and borders to those fleeing conflict and poverty. He spoke passionately about the moral duty to protect the vulnerable, reminding us that indifference is not an option. His words inspired countless individuals and organizations to take action, providing shelter, food, and hope to those in desperate need. Pope Francis believed that by welcoming the stranger, we not only help others but also enrich our own communities and grow in compassion.
Absolutely. He condemned the evils of war and violence, always advocating for peaceful resolutions to global conflicts. Pope Francis brought together people of different faiths and backgrounds, encouraging dialogue and understanding as the foundation for lasting peace. He spoke out against the arms trade, the devastation of innocent lives, and the cycle of hatred that fuels conflict. His vision was one of unity, where differences are respected and every effort is made to resolve disputes without resorting to violence. His message was clear: choose compassion over fear. In every action and every word, Pope Francis reminded us that a more just and peaceful world is possible if we have the courage to care for one another, to stand up for what is right, and to never lose hope in the power of love and solidarity.
Subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia. Of course, Pope Francis's papacy, though marked by compassion and reform, was not without its challenges.
He faced opposition from conservative factions within the Church, especially regarding his stance on issues like communion for divorced and remarried Catholics and the role of women in the Church.
His efforts to address clerical sexual abuse were significant, but they were also met with criticism. Some argued for swifter and more decisive action.
Despite his declining health, Pope Francis continued to work tirelessly until the very end.
He appointed Sister Raffaella Petrini as the first woman governor of Vatican City, a historic move that shattered centuries-old traditions and paved the way for greater female leadership within the Church.
His final actions really reflected his commitment to progress and his deep belief in the importance of inclusivity.
Pope Francis's papacy, spanning over a decade, left an enduring legacy on the Catholic Church.
He ushered in an era of greater openness, compassion, and dialogue, shifting the Church's focus towards the peripheries and the marginalized.
His reforms, though met with resistance, set in motion a process of change, prompting important conversations about the Church's role in the 21st century.
And while some of his reforms remain unfinished, his impact on the Church and the world is, honestly, undeniable.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, like and share Cosmo Academia for more insightful content.